everyone. So I'd like to start with a story that I had encountered with a young chef. So I joined WWF, which is the Worldwide Fund for Nature, and when I joined, I started the SASSI program, which is the Southern African Sustainable Seafood Initiative. And it teaches people how to make informed decisions about the seafood that they eat, they purchase, they serve, or they cook. And a young chef called me, I'm not going to tell you who he was, and he said he bought a whole box of hake off the back of a bakkie. But it's not hake when he cooks it. Please, can I come and have a look? And having been only at WWF for a month, I was terrified. Because I thought, what has the chef bought? And what am I going to do about it? And I rushed off to his restaurant, and he shoved me into the freezer. And I thought, oh Lord, first month of my job is going to kill me, okay? And in his freezer, he had boxes and boxes and boxes of fish marked hake. And when we opened the box, the top of the layer was hake, but the bottom of the layer wasn't. And he had paid for all of these boxes of fish. And I said to him, but it looks like hake. He said, yes, it looks exactly like a whitefish. But when he cooked it, it was completely different. It was rubbery, it was tough, and it was strange. So I probably took some samples off to Stellenbosch University and we had it tested. And what he had purchased was 1 layer of hake and about 9 layers of shark. And at that moment he was horrified, unbelievably horrified that he had contributed to the deaths of all those sharks by purchasing those boxes of hake. So this is the world I live in at WWF. Now whenever we talk about WWF, people think we talk about wildlife and rhinos. We do a lot more at WWF. We cover an entire food systems body of work, and we look at how do we minimize our footprint on this planet while still enjoying what's delicious on our plates, for now and for future generations. So what's important to understand is you can't have healthy people, you can't have good food if you have an unhealthy planet. And my job is to help people connect the dots, hence the environmental behavior change lead. So what we do is we work across the food sector, from production all the way to the consumer. Now many of you don't know, but actual food production has the biggest environmental footprint of any other industry, whether that be water usage, energy, carbon emissions, food loss and waste, or whether that has to do with soil health. We are really crap at how we produce food. That's the bottom line. And as the years have gone on, we've gotten worse at it. So we've moved from basically really efficient systems of agriculture that was once thriving and feeding the soil out to a monoculture mass production that is actually unhealthy for us and everything around it. So what we do at WWF is we work with farmers to move towards agroecology. In other words, kind of farming with nature as opposed to farming and killing nature. And one of the things that we focus on is sustainable production. Not just how do we actually produce better food, so regeneratively, but how do we sustain that so that we don't have land degradation, biodiversity loss of water. Now as you're thinking, well, I don't know where I fit in all of this. Well, you're in the middle of that chain, because the choices you make affect what farmers do and what consumers eat. And you become quite a pivotal cog in that world in which the food system cycles around. So one of the ways we do this is we work with farmers. That's fantastic, and we get them to change their practices so they can become more responsible. And this is farming, fishing, aquaculture, just about anybody that's producing something that you're going to consume. At the other end, we also work with consumers. We give them tools and ways to actually make informed decisions, to ask the right questions. And in the middle are you guys that actually take what production gives and make it better and tastier, and something that somebody will want to purchase. And we work with chefs, and we work a lot with food producers around what goes into it. Is it responsibly sourced? Where did it come from? What was its environmental footprint when you brought it? So I'm going to give you by way of example the SASSI program. So SASSI, if many of you haven't heard, is the Southern African Sustainable Seafood Initiative. It is a very interesting system. It's a scientifically based system where we rate seafood on a traffic light. Green, yes, choose that. Red, please don't, stay away, those resources are depleted. And orange, think twice. SASSI is very simple, and it's captured many people's imaginations because it gives them such an easy choice. What it does is it helps us shift our habits away from choosing species that are collapsed or depleted. Now I'm going to throw some stats at you, and I apologize because there's a lot of numbers, but at the moment we've calculated that 94% of all commercial fisheries is what we call overfished. So in other words, we've depleted those resources. Now that 94 is what data I have available. All the other illegal activities that's happening around there, I don't generally get that data from poachers or illegal fishing. So my 94 is probably very conservative. Now what SASSI is doing is it's trying to help you. It's empowering you with both awareness, but also a pathway to act. So when you purchase your fish that you're going to cook, make sure it's sitting on the green side of the listing. And it's easy. It's an app, it's free, you download it, and you search through it and you see which species you want to choose. Preferably you're choosing a green listed species. Another one of our programs where we're trying to engage with chefs and sommeliers and the food industry is our Conservation Champions project. So for those of you that are in the wine industry and for chefs who do pairings, the Conservation Champions program is a program around 57, I think we're now, 57 wine farms that have actually made a conscious commitment around sustainability. So they are looking at their water footprint, they are looking at their energy, they are looking at their water waste, they are looking at their food waste. They are also looking at alien clearing. Now you can ask me, well, what does alien clearing got to do with food? Well, aliens suck up about 90% of our water. Now we live in a water scarce country. Okay, so when you remove alien vegetation, you actually replenish freshwater systems. Now, pretty much 90% of all our water that we drink come from 8% of our water source area. So if we shut down those water source areas, pretty much half of South Africa won't have any water. Now this is a huge problem. Okay, so you have to understand that when alien vegetation grows, it's sucking up water that we can use. So I will give you two examples to see how well. So the program basically, most of you will know, there's wines like Boschendal, Vergelegen, they're part of the program. Boschendal was the only wine estate that didn't have an issue during day zero, because they had cleared their aliens and their rivers were running. Vergelegen had the Cape Leopard come back, they had Cape Owl come back, and they've now created two wines under that label of the leopard and the owl. They've enriched the system, biodiversity, in terms of what their practices have done. Spear has a zero waste. So in other words, they have nothing. Everything that goes in is back in the earth. They also have one of the most efficient composting systems that they're now selling their compost to other farms. But what these wine farms have committed to is basically regenerative, agroecological farming. And when we support them, by choosing these wines, we're supporting those responsible practices. Now you're gonna ask me, well, how do I know? Well, there's two ways. There's another app called the Conservation Champions app, and it talks about all of the wine farms that have joined the program. And if you look on the wine bottle, look for a label with a sugar bird on a protea. And that is the Ecological Conservation Champions wine logo. The other thing that you have to be cognizant of in your kitchen is your plastic. Now chefs love cling film, and understandably so. You cover everything, you wrap it, you fold it, you mold it, you blend it, you just about anything. But plastic is one of the best and the worst inventions we've ever come up with. At the moment, we release about 8 million metric tons of plastic in the ocean. That's about one dump truck of plastic per minute. So in the 10 minutes that I've been speaking to you, that's 10 dump trucks of plastic that have been emptied in the ocean. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation presents kind of stats that are even scarier. By 2050, there'll be more plastic than fish in the ocean by volume, if we don't change our plastic habits. So as a chef, it's easy. Don't look at the resin numbers because they're not for you. Those little numbers in the little triangles are actually for the plastic industry. So when you say, oh well, 1 to 5 I can throw in the recycling, but no, you can't. Because you can get 5s that you can recycle, but you can get ones that are blue that you can't recycle. So you need to get yourself informed. What plastic can I use? And how do I reduce? So we have something in WWF we call close the tap. If you have to walk into your house and a tap's been left open and it's flooding your house, your first reaction is not to mop, right? Your first reaction is close the tap. Close the tap on plastic. Find ways and means of reducing your plastic footprint in your kitchen. Understand the importance that that's going to come back at you. We are finding plastic in the guts of fish already, some species more than others, and it won't be long before it starts affecting our health because we are consuming plastic. So you need to think of the long-term consequences of what you do in your kitchen. And then there's food loss and waste. This is a personal passion of mine because in South Africa we have 3.3 million children that go hungry every single day and usually only have one meal a day. And yet we have one of the highest rates of food loss and waste in the food system. Just alone at production, we lose 44% of all the food we produce. So almost half of the food we produce, we send to landfill. Now there's two problems here. A, it's food that people can eat. And B, when food rots, it contributes to greenhouse gases. So we're actually increasing our carbon footprint by rotting food. So your food waste footprint in your kitchen becomes so important. There are amazing work that's being done by chefs in this country around decreasing their food loss and waste. Amazing recipes of using bits and bobs of the fish to make broths, of using bits and bobs of leftover vegetables and skins, of understanding that these resources are going to run out if we're not careful. Of amazing dishes that I have tasted where chefs have actually been superbly creative in terms of addressing food loss and waste. We produce enough food in South Africa to feed every single South African, but we don't. There's major households within cities that don't get enough food. And those that do get food get really poor nutritional food. So yes, it's good to get food, but it's also good to get healthy food that gives your body something. So we're trying to work around the food system at various levels to understand exactly how do we ensure that we have a healthy planet, that we have healthy people, so we can always have healthy food on our plates. So thank you for listening, and I wish you all the luck.